The day the world was supposed to clap for me began with a sound I didn't expect: silence. Not the peaceful kind, not the gentle early morning kind, but the kind that rattles inside your ribs like a warning you can't name. I felt it while buttoning my gown, while tying the string on my cap, while staring at my reflection as sunlight slid across my apartment floor. Something in me already knew. Today wasn't going to be the day I was finally seen. Today was going to be the day I finally learned why I'd spent my whole life begging to be. By the time I reached the stadium, the air shimmered with heat and human noise. Families waving balloons, kids darting between rows, mothers crying, fathers recording everything even when nothing was happening. It was the sort of day built for pride, the sort of day I used to imagine when I was younger, when I believed love was something you could earn like extra credit if you tried hard enough. My classmates lined up, everyone buzzing, laughing, taking pictures. I pretended to scroll my phone, so I didn't look as alone as I felt. And then my name, my full name, middle included, rolled through the speakers, stretching across the air like something holy. Camila Elaine Hart, Master of Data Analytics. I stepped forward, heart thudding, eyes instinctively lifting toward the front rows. The seats reserved for family glinted in the sun, empty metal flashing like a mirror of every memory I'd tried to bury. Not a jacket draped on a chair, not a dropped program, not a single sign they ever intended to come. Just absence, loud, mocking, perfect. A laugh caught in my throat. I forced a smile as the photographer snapped the picture, my diploma pressed to my chest so tightly the edges bit into my skin. Around me, families shouted names, blew kisses, wrapped their graduates in arms and flowers and love that felt unreal, like a movie I hadn't paid to see. I stood alone until the crowd blurred. A stranger's father asked if I wanted a picture with his family, thinking I'd been separated from mine. I agreed because it was easier than explaining the truth. I smiled wide, teeth aching, pretending for his camera what I'd never gotten in reality. After the ceremony, I lingered in the courtyard pretending to text. Ruby found me, cheeks flushed with excitement, her parents trailing like a proud parade behind her. She hugged me, squealing, and one of her parents snapped a picture of us together. My smile smaller this time, my eyes almost closing to hide the burn. "Where's your family?" she asked, scanning the crowd. "Running late," I lied. It was automatic. It tasted familiar. By sunset, I sat in my car watching families leave with bouquets and balloons. I imagined my mother pushing my sister Avery forward for a picture with me. I imagined my dad standing stiffly the way he always did at school events, the last one he'd ever bothered to attend. I imagined them choosing me just once. But imagination is a cruel gift. It gives you everything except the part where any of it becomes real. When I got home, I hung my gown on the door and stared at it until the colors blurred. I should have cried. I didn't. I just stood there, numb, like I'd been carved out and left hollow. 3 days passed quietly, the gown still hanging untouched, my diploma still sitting on the counter because I didn't know where it belonged anymore. Then my mom's text arrived. "Need $2,100 for Avery's Sweet 16. No hi. No how was it? No proud of you. Just numbers." A deadline. A command. It was strange how quickly something inside me snapped. Quietly. Not like a glass breaking, more like a thread that had been pulled too tight for too long. I stared at her message so long my phone dimmed and locked itself. When I opened it again, the numbers still glared back, bold and unapologetic. This was what she thought of me. Not a daughter. Not a graduate. Not someone worth showing up for. Just a wallet with a pulse. I opened my banking app. My savings barely touched $3,000. If I sent what she wanted, I'd be back to scraping rent. Back to eating ramen. Back to choosing between groceries and gas. Back to the life I'd fought my way out of one exhausting shift at a time. My fingers hovered over the screen, and for once, I didn't hesitate. I typed $1. Added a note. "Congratulations." Then hit send. The moment the word sent flashed, something in my chest loosened. Not comfort. Not joy. Just a strange, steady clarity, like the first deep breath after being underwater too long. I went to the door, opened the drawer, and pulled out the spare key my mother insisted on having for emergencies. She'd walked into my apartment without asking before. She'd opened my mail. She'd rearranged my things. She'd treated my space like an extension of hers because for years, everything I had was hers. I dropped the key into the trash, then called a locksmith. When the new lock clicked into place, it sounded louder than the stadium applause I never got. It sounded like the beginning of something I couldn't name yet. The next morning, I brewed coffee in the quiet. No footsteps. No knocking. No one calling my name asking for something. It was peaceful in a way I didn't trust yet. The world felt paused. Then someone knocked. Hard. Repeated. Rhythmic. I froze. I checked the peephole. Police. 2 officers. Calm. Professional. My stomach dropped so violently the room tilted. I opened the door, palms sweating. Miss Hart? The taller officer asked gently. We received a call from your mother. She says you've been acting erratically, changing locks, cutting communication. She's concerned you might be a danger to yourself. I actually laughed. A breathy, stunned, almost hysterical sound. Not because it was funny, but because it was too absurd to be anything else. The officers stepped inside. My apartment was spotless, the coffee steam still curling in the air, my laptop open to job applications, my diploma framed on the wall, like I'd wanted them to know who I was. Do I look unstable? I asked. The officer's mouth twitched. Not in the slightest. They left after filing a report, no concern. Just a warning that if she called again, I could reference their visit. Before leaving, the taller officer paused in the doorway. Sometimes, he said quietly, when people start standing up for themselves, the people who depended on their silence panic. When the door shut behind them, the silence returned, but it felt different now. Not peaceful, not heavy, just waiting. I didn't know then how right he was, or how far my mother was willing to go, or how deep the betrayal would cut once I uncovered it. All I knew was that the locks were changed, the line had been drawn, and for the first time in my life, she couldn't get in. Just not in the way I expected. The silence didn't last long. I woke before sunrise the next morning, the light creeping pale and slow across my apartment floor. I made coffee, opened my laptop, intending to drown myself in job applications, anything to distract from the leftover bitterness of the police visit. But the moment I logged in, something felt wrong. My banking app showed 2 new credit inquiries. Capital One. Discover. Both recent. Both unfamiliar. At first, I blinked at the screen, convinced it was some glitch. I hadn't applied for anything. I hadn't even used my credit card in weeks. I clicked again, slower this time, my heart thudding hard enough to echo in my throat. 2 newly opened accounts. Not my address. Not this apartment. My parents' house. My hand went still on the mouse. A cold, electric quiet filled my chest, the kind that fits perfectly into a moment right before your life splits open. I clicked through the transactions. Cherry Creek Events. Denver DJ Agency. Glam Studio. Event supplies. Catering deposits. Equipment rentals. Charges climbing by the hour. The numbers blurred. My pulse roared in my ears. The memory of my mother's text, need $2,100 for Avery's Sweet 16, slammed into me like a car crash. I realized then it had never been a request. It had been a warning. A deadline. She'd already made the purchases. Already planned the party. Already spent money she didn't have. Spent my money instead. No. Not my money. My name. My identity. For a moment I just sat there, staring, unable to swallow, unable to move. The betrayal wasn't new. It was just finally loud enough that I couldn't pretend it wasn't happening. I called the number on the statement, my voice thin and trembling but steady enough to speak. This is Camila Hart. I need to report identity theft. The woman on the line verified my information, typing calmly. Then she paused long enough that the air around me turned solid. Ms. Hart, the account was opened in person at our Littleton branch. Last month. Co-applicant listed as Linda M. Hart. My mother. The words hit so hard the room tipped sideways. I pressed a hand to the desk, steadying myself, but the world kept lurching. Would you like us to flag the accounts for fraud investigation? The woman asked gently. Yes, I whispered. 20 minutes later, the call ended. I stared at the wall until the silence hummed. My mother hadn't just used me. She hadn't just drained me. She'd stolen me. My signature. My identity. My future credit. My name. A name she hadn't even bothered showing up to hear announced at graduation. I opened my phone. Opened the voice recorder. Colorado was a one-party consent state. I didn't need her permission. I just needed the truth. I dialed. She answered on the fourth ring, sharp, irritated, the same voice she used whenever she needed something. So you're alive. Mom. My voice felt cold, not even like mine. 2 credit cards were opened in my name. Using your address. Your signature. Do you want to explain that? She laughed. An empty laugh. A practiced one. Oh, that? I was helping you build credit. You should be grateful. Helping me? I said softly. By committing fraud? Stop dramatizing, she snapped. It's family money. What's yours is ours. You sound ridiculous. What's mine is mine, I corrected, steady. And what's yours is under investigation. There was silence on the line. Heavy. Sharp. The kind that holds something dangerous. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. I already did. I saved the recording. Labeled it. Boundaries. May 17th, 2025. The air in my apartment felt charged, like the sky right before lightning. My diploma caught the morning light. The new lock glinted on the door, and I stood there realizing 2 things at once. I had finally stood up for myself. And my mother, my own mother, was going to burn the world down trying to push me back down. That afternoon, I received the email from the bank confirming the fraud investigation. I forwarded it to myself 3 times just to make sure it existed. By evening, I couldn't sit still. My chest kept tightening, a coil winding tighter and tighter every time I replayed her laugh in my head. When my phone buzzed again, I snatched it before it finished vibrating. It wasn't my mother. It was Avery. Did you tell Mom she can't use the card for my party? Do you want to ruin everything? I stared at her message, fingers curling into my palm. All my life, I'd been the backup parent. The emergency fund. The one who worked double shifts so she could go to dance classes, piano lessons, school trips, everything they deemed too important to cut back on.
But the guilt didn't come this time.
Not even a flicker. I didn't answer. Instead, I got in my car and drove. To a diner halfway between my life and theirs. A place no one would raise their voice in. A place where truths would echo whether they liked it or not. When they walked in, my mother in her floral dress, sunglasses like armor, my father small and silent, Avery glued to her phone, I felt something in me settle. Not peace. Not anger. Just a calm, cold certainty. They sat across from me in the cracked leather booth. You really made us drive all this way, my mother snapped. For dinner?
We're not eating, I said.
My voice didn't shake this time. We're talking. I slid a brown folder across the table. Bank statements. Fraud reports. Screenshots. The reality she thought she'd never get caught in. She barely blinked. Oh, that sweetheart. I did it for you. You're so ungrateful. My father cleared his throat. Let's not make this bigger then. You opened credit cards in my name, I said quietly. You forged my signature. You used my identity for a party I wasn't even invited to. My mother's expression cracked, just slightly but enough for me to see it. The fear, the anger, the loss of control. You will regret this, she hissed. You are destroying this family. No, I said, standing. You destroyed it the moment you decided my name was worth more to you than my love. I walked out before she could answer. The sky outside was heavy with the promise of rain. I stood there breathing, my chest shaking, not from fear, but from release. For the first time in years, the air didn't feel borrowed. That night, my phone stayed silent. The storm hadn't hit yet, but it was coming, and I was finally ready for it. The storm didn't start with thunder. It started with a knock.
Sharp.
Measured. Too calm to be a stranger. Too familiar to be safe. I froze halfway through brushing my teeth, toothbrush still in my hand, the mint burning on my tongue. It was almost midnight. No one visited at midnight. No one even knew my new address, except the bank, my job applications, and my heart dropped. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't even blink. Another knock. 2 short taps. Then silence thick enough to choke on. I stepped quietly to the peephole. My sister, Avery.
Alone.
Her mascara was smudged, her hair frizzy from wind, and her arms were wrapped around herself like she might fall apart if she let go. She wasn't dressed for the cold. She wasn't dressed for anything except urgency. I opened the door halfway. She slipped inside fast, not even waiting to be invited, her eyes darting behind me like she expected our mother to appear out of the shadows. "What are you doing here?" I whispered. She swallowed hard. "Mom doesn't know I came." That was new. That was terrifying. I shut the door slowly, the lock sliding into place with a soft click that felt louder than thunder. What happened? Avery stood in the middle of my tiny living room, her chest heaving. She wasn't confident. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't even angry. She was scared. "She's losing it," she said finally. Like, actually losing it. I sat down, toothbrush still in my hand. Avery paced, gripping her phone so tightly I thought it might snap in half. She spent all day calling banks, screaming at people, threatening to sue them for attacking her family. Dad tried to calm her down, and she threw a mug at the wall. It shattered. She didn't even react. My throat tightened. "Is she okay? I mean mentally." "She's not okay," Avery whispered. "And she's blaming you for everything." Of course she was. Avery's voice cracked. "She said you're trying to destroy us. That you're jealous. That you want the family to fall apart." I sighed. "Avery." "But then," she said louder, eyes wide with panic, "she told me she's planning to file a police report." I blinked. "For what?" "For abandonment," she said. "And for stealing from the household budget. It doesn't even make sense. She's spiraling. She's rewriting everything in her head." I closed my eyes. Of course she would. When she lost control of the story, she'd rewrite the script. And I had taken the pen away from her. Avery sank onto my couch, small and trembling. She didn't look like the girl who accused me of ruining her party. She looked like a kid who just realized the world she grew up in wasn't real. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "Dad's shutting down. Mom's scaring me. And I don't even want that stupid Sweet 16 anymore. I just want things not to be this." I sat beside her slowly. "Avery, I know none of this is my fault. You know that, right?" She nodded, eyes filling. "I know. I didn't before. But today?" I saw her talking to herself, rehearsing what she was going to yell at the bank. She kept saying your name over and over like it was poison. My stomach dropped. Avery's voice shrank. "And then she said she should have never adopted you." Everything inside me stopped. The air thinned, like the whole room forgot how to breathe. Adopted. The word hung there, ugly, heavy, foreign. What?" I whispered. Avery froze, realizing what she'd said. "Wait, you didn't know?" The world tilted again. Slower than before. Colder. "No," I said, barely audible. "No one ever told me." Avery's face drained of color. "Oh my God. Oh my God, I thought she always hinted, she always said she chose you. Dad slipped once, but I thought you knew. I thought you just didn't talk about it." My pulse roared in my ears. Adopted. Was that why? All the years of guilt? The emotional suffocation? The way they held me responsible for everything? The way I was parentified before I even hit middle school? A chosen child treated like a debt. My chest tightened, hot and aching. My vision blurred for a moment like my body was trying to reject the truth. Avery grabbed my hand. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tell you like that. She said it like she wanted it to hurt you, like she wanted to remind herself you weren't really hers to lose." I laughed. A soft, broken sound. More disbelief than humor. It explains so much, I whispered. God. It explains everything. Avery leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was little, and I was the only one who made her feel safe. I came because I don't trust her right now, she said. And because I don't want to lose you too. I wrapped an arm around her. For the first time in days, my heart didn't feel like a fragile thing ready to shatter. You're not going to lose me, I murmured. But Avery, you need to be careful. If she finds out you're here. A faint sound cut me off. A car door outside. Then footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Approaching the stairs. One step. Another. Another. Avery shot up, eyes wide. That's Mom's car. I peeked out the blinds. Headlights. A familiar silhouette. The floral dress. The angry posture. She was coming toward my building. Avery grabbed my wrist, voice trembling. She followed me. I think she tracked my phone. The knocking that came next wasn't calm. Wasn't measured. Wasn't familiar. It was furious. Open the door right now, her voice screamed from the hallway. Camila. I know she's in there. Open this door. Avery's fingers dug into my arm. What do we do? The knocking grew louder. Harder. Unhinged. Camila. Let me in. Now. I stared at the door as it rattled under the force of her pounding. The storm had finally arrived. And it was no longer outside. It was right here, trying to break its way in. The door shook again. Harder this time, like she wasn't knocking anymore, but trying to break the frame apart with her bare hands. Avery stood frozen beside me, one hand clamped over her mouth, the other gripping my shirt. Her panic radiated off her in waves. I could practically feel her heartbeat through her fingertips. Camila, my mother screamed. Open this damn door. I motioned for Avery to stay quiet. Stay still. Stay behind me. My legs felt numb as I stepped toward the door. Not to open it, just to stand between her and the only barrier keeping us safe. The pounding came again. A violent, unhinged rhythm. You think you can hide her from me? She shouted. You think you can turn her against me? She's my daughter. Not yours. Open this door. Avery flinched so hard, she almost fell. I pressed a finger to my lips, then whispered, barely audible. Bathroom. Go. Now. She nodded and hurried away on silent feet, slipping into the bathroom and locking the door behind her. I heard her muffled breathing through the wall. Fast, shallow, terrified. My mother kept hitting the door, the sound echoing through my entire apartment like thunder trapped indoors. I took a deep breath. I needed to stay calm. She wanted chaos. She wanted me overwhelmed, panicked, vulnerable. I wasn't giving her that. I stood close enough to the door that she could hear me clearly, but far enough that if it suddenly swung open or broke, she wouldn't grab me. Stop, I said firmly. You need to stop. Everything went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Not relieved quiet. The kind of quiet that coils like a snake right before it strikes. Her voice dropped to a low, trembling whisper. Open this door, Camila. No. A beat of silence. Then rage. After everything I've done for you, she hissed. After all the sacrifices. You ungrateful little. You stole my identity, I said, my tone steady and low. You lied to the bank. You forged my signature. You screamed at Avery. You threw things. You threatened to file false police reports. You followed her here. You are scaring her. She's my child, she snapped, voice sharp. She belongs with me. She's not a possession, I said. My mother laughed, a brittle, manic sound. Oh, please. Everything in that house exists because of me. Even you. My jaw tightened. Especially you, she whispered. We took you in when no one else wanted you. We fed you. We clothed you. We gave you a family. You gave me debt, I said. Control. Fear. Obligation. We gave you a life, she screamed. And you repay us with this? With investigations? With betrayal? I fought the lump rising in my throat. You hid everything about who I am, I said quietly. You kept me in the dark. And you used me because I wasn't really yours. The silence on the other side of the door felt like a knife slowly twisting. You are mine, she whispered. Every bit of you. I made you who you are. No, I said. You made me scared. You made me small. You made me a replacement parent to a child you chose to baby instead of raise. Don't you dare talk about Avery, she snapped instantly, her voice cracking like glass. She is perfect. She is good. She's a kid, I interrupted. And she's terrified of you right now. That broke something. I heard her breath catch, a sharp inhale, then a sound between a sob and a growl. You poisoned her, she spat. You filled her head with lies. You made her hate me. I didn't have to, I said. She sees you. That's silence again. Shuddering. Dangerous. I want my daughter, she whispered.
Right now.
Then go home, I said. Calm down. We'll talk when. No, her voice sharpened.
No.
You don't get to tell me what to do. You don't get to take her. You don't get to act like the hero here. She is mine. She's not here, I lied. Yes, she is. Her voice cracked. I saw her car. I know she's with you. And if you don't open this door, if you make me stand here 1 second longer, so help me. She stopped. Then, a sudden, violent bang. She tried to ram the door. I stumbled backward, shock ripping through me.
Bang.
The frame shook.
Bang.
Avery screamed from the bathroom. Stop, I yelled. Another impact. Harder. She wasn't thinking. She wasn't reasoning. She wasn't even seeing clearly anymore. This wasn't anger. This was desperation with teeth. Mom, stop, I shouted. You're going to break the door. Open it, she shrieked. Let me see her. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and dialed the only thing I never thought I'd dial on my own mother. The operator answered instantly. 911, what's your emergency? My mother is trying to break into my apartment, I said, voice trembling but controlled. She's threatening us. My sister is inside. We're scared. My mother must have heard. The banging stopped. Then her voice, soft, trembling, full of wounded betrayal, slipped through the crack under the door. You called them on me, she whispered. You called the police on your mother? I swallowed hard, tears burning their way down but not falling. I had to, I said. Silence. Then her voice shifted, cold, hollow, something I'd never heard from her before. You will regret that, she said. A moment later, her footsteps moved away.
Fast. Shaky.
Not defeated, strategizing. The headlights of her car lit the window. Then she was gone. I sank to the floor, my heartbeat roaring in my ears. Avery opened the bathroom door, her face streaked with tears. She rushed to me, collapsing beside me, arms wrapping around me so tightly it hurt. She's not okay, Avery sobbed. She's not okay at all. I know, I whispered. But she wasn't the only one who wasn't okay. Something had cracked tonight. Something deep. Something irreversible. And the worst part? The quiet she left behind didn't feel like peace. It felt like a warning. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. Avery lay curled up on my couch, finally exhausted enough to drift into an uneasy sleep sometime around 4 a.m. Every so often she whimpered or flinched, like her mind kept replaying the scene at the door. I sat on the floor beside her, back against the wall, staring at the ceiling as the sun rose in slow, painful streaks. My phone buzzed twice, unknown numbers. Probably my mother. I didn't answer. Around 7 a.m., there was a soft knock. Not angry, not forceful. The quiet, professional kind that comes when someone doesn't want to startle you. Police, a voice called gently. Avery shot upright, eyes wide with fear. I squeezed her hand. It's okay, I whispered. 2 officers stood in the hallway, a man and a woman, both calm, collected, alert but not aggressive. They asked if everything was all right, if we were safe, if we wanted to give statements. I told them everything. Not about being adopted. Not about years of emotional manipulation. Just the facts. The break-in attempt, the threats, the identity fraud under investigation. They listened quietly, took notes, asked careful questions. She needs help, Avery said softly at one point, surprising me. Real help. She's not in her right mind. The officers exchanged a look, one of those silent, trained expressions that hold both understanding and boundaries. We'll file this, the woman said gently. And if anything escalates again, call immediately. You have every right to feel safe in your own home. After they left, the apartment felt strangely hollow, like the air itself was waiting for something. Avery rubbed her knees anxiously. She's going to be furious. I know. She's going to twist everything. I know. She looked up at me with eyes too old for 16. What are we supposed to do now? I didn't have an answer. Not a real one. My life had already cracked open twice in the last 48 hours. Once when the bank confirmed the fraud, and once when Avery said the word adopted. But the third crack was coming. I could feel it in the weight of the silence. We take it one step at a time, I finally said. That's all we can do. Avery nodded, though she didn't look convinced. She spent the next hour trying to call her father. He didn't answer. Not once. Just straight to voicemail, his soft, tired voice saying he'd call when he could. He didn't. By noon, Avery's hands were trembling. What if she went after him? What if she told him to take my phone? What if she... Avery, I interrupted softly. She won't hurt him. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure. My mother's anger didn't hit people physically. It hit their minds, their sense of self, their sanity. She had 100 ways of breaking you without ever laying a hand on you. By 2 p.m., I convinced Avery to shower and eat something. I made us grilled cheese sandwiches. She poked hers with a fork like it was from another planet. I kept checking the window for her car. It didn't come, but the quiet was worse. By 3 p.m., Avery's phone lit up.
Mom.
Avery's entire body stiffened. What do I do? She whispered. Nothing, I said. You don't owe her anything right now. But her phone buzzed again.
And again.
Then stopped. Then a message came through. Come home.
Now.
A second one followed instantly. If you know what's good for you. Avery's breath hitched. She sounds different. Like, she's not even trying to fake it anymore. I took her phone gently and set it face down. We're not opening anything she sends. Not today. Avery nodded, biting her trembling lip. But then my phone buzzed too. Unknown number. I let it ring out. It buzzed again. And again. Then a voicemail pinged. My stomach knotted. I pressed play. Her voice spilled through the speaker, cold, eerily calm. Too calm. Camila, this is your mother. I just wanted to let you know that I've made a decision. If you want to involve the police, if you want to treat me like a criminal, fine. But I will not be painted as a villain in my own family. I will not let you take my daughter from me. Her breath shook once, barely, and then. You are no longer welcome in my home. You will not be part of our lives. You've made your choice. And when Avery comes back, and she will come back, you will be alone. Completely alone. I won't protect you anymore. I won't speak for you. I won't clean up your messes. You're on your own now. The message ended. Avery stared at the phone, horrified. She thinks she owns us. I deleted the voicemail. She never protected me. This is just the first time she's admitting it. Avery's eyes filled again. Camila, if she cuts you out, what about me? The truth lodged like a stone in my throat. She won't let me see you, I whispered. Avery grabbed my wrist.
No.
No, you can't leave me with her. You can't. I'm not leaving you, I said fiercely. I would never leave you. But Avery, legally, she still has control over you until you're 18. Avery shook her head violently. I'm not going back. I can't. I won't. I exhaled shakily. Then we need help. Real help. Someone who can step in without making this worse. Avery looked up. Like who? I swallowed hard. There was only one person who might understand the kind of woman my mother was. Someone who had walked away before. Someone whose name was never allowed in the house. Someone I didn't think I'd ever speak to again. My biological mother, I said quietly. Avery's mouth fell open. But do you even know who she is? I shook my head. No, I whispered. But someone does. Avery's eyes widened as the truth clicked in her mind. Our father. He had kept quiet. Always quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that hides something heavy. Something like the truth.
We need to talk to Dad, I said.
And this time, he's going to tell me everything. The room felt suddenly colder. Not dangerous. Inevitable. For years, I wasn't allowed to know where I came from.
Now?
I was done asking for permission. I didn't call Dad. I drove to him. Avery sat beside me in the passenger seat, knees pulled to her chest, sleeves covering her hands, watching Denver pass by like the world had turned into static. The sky outside was a storm waiting for permission, gray, swollen, threatening. He'll talk to us, right? She asked quietly. Yes, I said. But inside, I wasn't so sure. Our father had always been the soft presence in the house, the peacekeeper, the background hum, the man who smiled politely at everything. But quiet men carry storms. I just never imagined a storm had anything to do with me. The drive to Littleton felt like threading a needle with shaking hands. Every red light felt like a warning. Every green light felt like a dare. When we pulled into the neighborhood, Avery curled deeper into her hoodie. If she's home. She's not, I interrupted. She wouldn't leave the house silent for 12 hours unless she was planning something. Avery shut her eyes. That's exactly what scares me. The house looked the same, pale blue siding, overgrown shrubs, the porch light still on from the night before. But something was off. A feeling. A shift. Like the house knew we weren't supposed to be there anymore. I knocked once. Dad opened the door instantly, like he'd been standing behind it. His face collapsed into relief. Oh, thank God. You're okay. He pulled Avery in first, hugging her tight, then looked at me, hesitation flickering behind his eyes. It hurt more than if he'd slammed the door in my face. We stepped inside. Avery clung to his sleeve like she was afraid he'd vanish. He guided us to the living room, turning off the TV someone had left running in the background, a rerun of some sitcom laughing at all the wrong times. Where's Mom?
I asked.
He hesitated just enough to be noticeable. She left early this morning, he said. Wouldn't tell me where she was going.
A lie.
Or a half-truth. He was sweating. My father never sweated indoors. Avery stepped forward. Dad, she tried to break into Camila's place last night.
He winced.
Your mother is under a lot of stress. Stress doesn't make someone commit identity fraud, I snapped. His shoulders tightened. You reported her? I laughed bitterly. You think I wanted to? You think this is easy? She used me as her personal ATM for years. She used my name, my credit, my life. And she used me. Avery blurted out.
Dad, she lied.
About everything. Even about Camila being adopted. The room went still. Dad sank onto the couch, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. For a long minute he didn't move. The only sound was Avery's shaky breath. Finally he spoke. You weren't supposed to find out like this. A cold wave rolled through me, the kind that starts in your chest and spreads everywhere at once. So it's true, I whispered. I'm not her daughter. He lifted his head slowly, eyes red.
No, he said.
You're not. Avery covered her mouth. The world didn't shatter. It just rearranged itself. I sat across from him, feeling the rug under my feet, the air on my arms, the ache in my jaw from clenching too hard. Then why? I said. Why did she keep me? Why did she raise me just to treat me like I was something she owned? His face twisted, embarrassment and regret mixing into something sharp. You were never supposed to be hers, he whispered. Not really. My breath caught. What does that mean? Start talking, Dad. No more silence. No more hiding. He swallowed hard. When you were born, your mother, your biological mother, was a young woman I had known for years. She was struggling. No support. No family. And Linda. He closed his eyes like he was bracing for lightning. Linda wanted a second child more than anything. But not me, I said. Not really. She wanted control, he admitted. A baby she could shape. Someone who would owe her. Someone she could call hers without ever having to earn it. Avery flinched like the words hit her too. And my real mom? I whispered. Who is she? His silence was the answer. You know who she is, I breathed. He nodded. Then tell me. He didn't. Instead, he stood, walked to the old desk drawer by the window, and pulled out a thick envelope, yellowed at the edges, worn like it had been handled too many times and never opened. He held it out with trembling fingers. This is all I ever had. I should have given it to you years ago. My hands shook as I took it. Avery moved beside me, close enough to touch but not touching. Even she held her breath. Inside the envelope were a birth certificate, a hospital bracelet, a photograph, and a letter. The photo hit me first, grainy, taken in some hospital room under harsh fluorescent light. A woman sat on the bed, holding a newborn me. Her face was blurred at the edges from movement, but her smile wasn't. It was soft.
Real.
Warm in a way I'd never seen before. Avery gasped softly. She looks nothing like Mom. She was right. This woman looked tired but peaceful. Most of all, she looked like someone who loved me. I put the photo down gently and unfolded the letter. The handwriting was messy, rushed, like she wrote it with shaking hands. If you're reading this, it means you've grown enough to understand why I had to let you go. I want you to know I never abandoned you. I chose safety over possession. I chose your future over my fear. I chose love over keeping you. You deserved more than I could give. And if you ever look for me, I will never hide from you. No name, just a phone number. My heart hammered, each thud sharper than the last. Avery whispered, Camila, you have to call her. But Dad's voice cut in suddenly, urgent, fearful. You can't. I turned sharply.
Why?
He ran a hand over his face, shoulders sinking. Because your mother found that letter once, he said quietly. She knows who the woman is. She knows where she is. And she made me promise, swear, that I would never let you find her.
Why?
Why would she care? The answer came like a knife. Because she was afraid that if you ever met your real mother, his eyes lifted to mine, heavy with a truth he'd carried too long, you would choose her instead. The room spun. Avery whispered, Dad, what did Mom do? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because at that exact moment, Avery's phone buzzed. A single text. From Mom. I know where you are. And the second. I'm coming. The night pressed against the hospital windows like a living thing, and Zaina felt its weight as she stood alone in the empty hallway. Everything smelled of antiseptic and cold air, yet nothing felt clean. Not her memories. Not her decisions. And definitely not the guilt that kept crawling back into her chest like a stubborn shadow. She had spent the last hour replaying everything Mrs. Raymond said, trying to pull meaning out of a stranger's fear, but the pieces still refused to fit. Her father wasn't just hiding something, he was running from something. And whatever it was, it had followed him into their lives. A sudden vibration inside her pocket made her jump. She pulled out her phone. A message from an unknown number. He's waking up. Don't trust what he says first. Zaina's heart thudded painfully. Her father was waking up? She shoved her phone back into her pocket and began walking fast, then faster, until she was almost running. The hallway hummed with the soft buzz of fluorescent lights as she turned the final corner to his room. But she stopped. The door was already slightly open. Someone had gone in. Her pulse slipped into a frantic rhythm as she pushed the door open slowly. Her father lay on the bed, eyes half open, breathing unevenly. A doctor was adjusting the foreline. He looked up at her with calm, practiced professionalism, but something felt wrong. Too stiff. Too rehearsed. Sign of improvement, the doctor said. He regained consciousness a few minutes ago. Zaina took a step forward. Is he awake now? The doctor hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second, but she saw it. Yes, he said. You can talk to him, but be gentle. Her father's eyelids fluttered. She moved to his side, her throat tightening. Dad? Can you hear me? His fingers twitched. Then his eyes opened more fully, and for a moment she saw a flicker of recognition. But only for a moment. Zaina, his voice cracked, thin and shaky. She grabbed his hand, fighting tears. I'm here. You're safe. But the doctor, still standing behind her, shifted his weight slightly, and her father's eyes darted to him in panic. That wasn't normal panic. That was fear. Zaina felt the change in the air instantly. Her father squeezed her hand weakly and whispered, Not safe, not here. The doctor spoke quickly, interrupting. He's confused. Post-trauma disorientation. Happens often. Her father's breathing hitched. He stared at the doctor with sheer dread and forced out a broken whisper. Don't believe? Zaina's skin prickled. She turned to the doctor. What exactly happened before he woke up? She asked. The doctor didn't answer immediately. Instead, his eyes flicked to the heart monitor, then to the door, then back to her father. It was subtle, but he was measuring something. Calculating something. I told you, he finally said. He regained consciousness naturally. Nothing unusual. But Zaina's mind screamed that something was off. Her father's fear wasn't random confusion. It had direction. It had a target. She turned back to him. Dad, who did this to you? Please just tell me. He swallowed painfully, his lips trembling. He found out because of you? Her breath vanished. Because of me? What are you talking about? But before he could respond, the monitor beeped rapidly. His face tightened in pain as he tried to lift his head. The doctor moved fast, too fast. Enough questions. He needs rest. He started adjusting something on the foredrip. A cold realization hit Zaina like ice water. He wasn't calming her father. He was silencing him. She grabbed his wrist. Stop. What are you doing? The doctor's expression hardened for a split second, flat, sharp, dangerous, before shifting back into a fake calmness. Miss, let go. I'm stabilizing him. I said stop. The room filled with tension, thick and suffocating. Her father struggled to speak again, voice cracking under the effort. Zaina, don't trust. The doctor stepped between them, blocking her view. That's enough. Leave the room. Her instinct screamed at her, louder than any fear she'd ever felt. Something terrible was happening right in front of her. She shoved past the doctor, grabbing the foreline and pulling it away from his hand. Her father gasped, relief mixing with the pain. The doctor's mask slipped entirely now. His voice dropped, low and cold. You shouldn't have done that. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. A nurse. Another doctor. A guard. Zaina's breath caught. Had he called them? How long had he been planning this? The doctor straightened himself instantly, fake professionalism back in place. She's interfering with treatment, he announced to the others. Remove her from the room. Hands grabbed her arms, pulling her back. She fought, but they held tight. Let me go, she cried. You're hurting him. He's lying to you. Her father reached out toward her weakly, his eyes wide with helpless panic. Zaina, he called. And then, he stopped. His hand fell. His body went still. The monitor flattened into a piercing, continuous beep. No! Zaina screamed, breaking free and rushing to him. But the doctor calmly stepped in front of her. He'll be fine. We're restarting the line. He wasn't worried. Not even a little. Because whatever he had done, he had planned it. As they held her back, she stared at the doctor, really stared, and saw the truth she had been avoiding. Her father wasn't afraid of strangers. He was afraid of someone specific. Someone who had been close enough to hurt him without suspicion. Someone who was still here. Someone who had just smiled at her like nothing happened. Zaina felt the horror settle deep in her bones. Her father didn't survive an accident. Someone had tried to finish what they started. And now, they were coming for her next. The world outside the hospital felt colder than night usually allowed. Zaina stumbled out of the entrance, breath shaking, mind spinning like a wheel losing control. Her father's last moments replayed in flashes, his voice breaking, his hand reaching, his fear and the doctor's smile. That smile. It crawled under her skin and stayed there like poison. She kept walking, faster and faster, until she was half running across the empty parking lot. Her heartbeat was too loud, too mismatched, too full of grief and disbelief to make sense of anything. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. She froze. A new message appeared. They won't stop now. Go home. Check the drawer. Zaina's throat tightened.
Who was sending these?
How did they know everything before it happened? But she had no time to question anything. Her father's warning echoed inside her head. He found out because of you. She swallowed hard and forced herself to move, catching a taxi with trembling hands. The entire ride home, her eyes stayed glued to the hospital entrance in the rearview mirror until it disappeared behind the buildings. When she reached her house, everything looked exactly the same, and yet painfully different. The gates, the porch light, the familiar scent of earth from her mother's old flower beds. But the silence felt wrong. She pushed open the door, stepped inside, and locked it behind her. Her father's room felt colder than the rest of the house as she entered. His belongings were exactly where he had left them. His glasses beside the lamp. His watch on the table. His favorite book, still marked at page 132. Everything was frozen in time except him. Zaina moved to the cabinet drawer slowly, afraid of what she might find. She stood there for a moment, her hand hovering over the handle before finally pulling it open. Inside were just papers, bills, old medicine prescriptions, a broken pen. But then, under a stack of envelopes, there was a small black notebook. She picked it up. Her name was written on the cover. Her breath hitched. Hands shaking, she opened it. The first page was blank, but the second had a date written on top, 3 weeks ago, and a short, hurried note. If anything happens to me, Zaina must know the truth. It wasn't an accident. They'll come for her too. Her knees weakened, and she sat down on the bed. The next pages were crammed with scribbles, rushed handwriting, arrows connecting names she didn't recognize. Words like leverage, deal, threat, consequences. And one phrase repeated again and again. He knows. She flipped further, breath fast and shallow, until one page made her freeze. A name she did recognize. Dr. Kamal Rahman. Her chest tightened. The doctor. The one who stopped her, silenced her father, manipulated everything with clinical calmness. Her father had written something more beneath his name. Trusted once. Not anymore. Dangerous. Stay away. Her father knew him. Not as a doctor. As something else. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. Now you know. Her fingers trembled. She typed back. Who are you? The reply came instantly. The only one trying to keep you alive. The room tilted slightly. She steadied herself against the dresser. Her phone vibrated again.
He's already on his way.
Don't stay inside. A sudden knock echoed through the quiet house. Her heart stopped. Not a gentle knock. A harsh, deliberate one. Her legs wouldn't move at first, paralyzed between terror and instinct. But the knocking came again, louder this time, and the sound jolted her back into herself. She ran. Out the back door. Through the narrow passage. Over the wall the way she used to escape as a kid. Her palms scraped against the rough cement as she pulled herself up and dropped down on the other side, landing in the neighbor's garden with a muffled thud. A door creaked somewhere behind her. She didn't look back. She ran across the dimly lit street until her lungs burned, every shadow twisting into shapes, every sound turning into footsteps. Her phone buzzed once more. Go to the old store. The one your father owned years ago. He left something for you there. The old store. Her childhood. Her father's first business, before everything changed. She reached it within minutes, breathless and shaking. The shutters were half rusted, the sign barely hanging on one nail. She lifted the metal with all her strength until she could slip inside. The darkness swallowed her instantly. She used her phone's flashlight, sweeping it across dusty shelves and broken chairs. Then she saw it, a metal box on the counter, her father's handwriting on the top. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a USB drive and a folded piece of paper. She unfolded the paper first. Zaina, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't keep you safe. Everything I risked my life for is on that drive. Expose it, no matter the cost. It's the only way they stop, and the only way you survive. Zaina's heartbeat hammered painfully. She grabbed the drive, slipped it into her pocket, and froze. Footsteps. Inside the store. Slow. Measured. Approaching. She turned off her flashlight instantly, pressing herself against the wall, her breath held tight in her chest. A silhouette entered.
Tall. Calm.
Unhurried. She knew that posture. That walk. That presence. Dr. Kamal. His voice slid across the darkness like a blade.
Zaina.
You shouldn't have run. She shut her eyes for a second, forcing the fear down her throat. Kamal continued walking deeper inside. It didn't have to be this way, he said softly. If you had just let your father go quietly, you could have lived your life without ever knowing what he did. She stayed silent. Her fingers tightened around the USB drive. He kept moving. Now, he said, footsteps stopping just a few feet away. You've made yourself part of it. Zaina's pulse thundered, so loud, she thought he could hear it. Then, a second set of footsteps.
Fast.
Sharp. Kamal turned his head slightly. What? A heavy crash echoed. A struggle. A gasp of pain. Zaina couldn't see anything, only sounds filling the dark. Then silence. Long, terrifying silence. A whisper broke it. Zaina, it's safe. Come out. She recognized the voice. The unknown messenger. She slowly turned her flashlight back on. A man stood there, dirt-stained jacket, bruised face, eyes full of exhaustion and urgency. Kamal lay unconscious on the floor beside him. Zaina stepped forward cautiously. Who are you? The man swallowed, breathing hard. I worked with your father. Before everything went wrong. Her chest tightened. Why did you help me? He looked at her with a sadness she didn't understand yet. Because he saved my life once. And I promised him if the day ever came, I'd save yours. She felt her throat closing, emotions tightening like a painful knot. What do we do now? She whispered. He pointed at her pocket. We end it. We expose everything he died protecting. She looked down at the USB drive in her hand, small, cold, and heavy with truth. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Inside, she felt something shift. Fear was still there. Grief was still there. But something else rose with them. Resolve. Her father wasn't gone. Not as long as his truth lived. And she was going to make sure the world heard it. No matter what followed. She took a breath. Deep, steady, unbreakable. Let's finish what he started. And together, they stepped into the night. The story didn't end here. But Zaina wasn't running anymore. She was ready.